very excited to bring up our dad, president of our home agency, Seniority Benefit Group, chief strategy officer at RetireFlo. Please welcome somebody who made this thing the thing that it is. RetireFlo do not exist sans Scott Miller. And we're also going to be bringing up some awesome team members from Seniority Benefit Group. But without further ado, the president of a 25,000 beneficiary agency, my dad, Scott Miller.
Thank you, Dalton. I greatly appreciate it. And I first have to say that the past 2 years have been a blast, have been awesome. I mean, I wouldn't have gone to Floribama without RetireFlo. I wouldn't have gone to the French Quarter. Miles probably wouldn't have gone to Springfield, Missouri. So it's taken us to a lot of places. We met so many great people. And I'm very thankful that I'm on this journey, and we're having a blast. We love what we do. We love what we do at Seniority Benefit Group, my company. We think it's a privilege to serve those 25,000 people. So let's just get into it, Dalton. Let's give them the backlot tour of what we do to manage AEP, manage our book of business. Let's give that backlot tour. Let's get it started.
Absolutely. Who are we?
So as Dalton said, and Dalton worked for us after working in a short but long stint in politics. Dalton joined us in 2021, just after the pandemic. Joe Namath was in full bloom. Jimmy Walker, Mike Ditka, Dorothy Hamill, they were all in full bloom when Dalton joined us. But our agency is, we have 12 team members. We're an LOA shop located in Dublin, Ohio, which is a suburb of Columbus, Ohio. All of our employees are W-2 employees. We have a team of 8 sales agents or producers. We also have a client service team, which I'm about to introduce, but we manage 25,000 customers with either a Medicare Advantage plan or a Medicare supplement. We have an extreme focus on Medicare related products. We do market other products like dental, vision, travel, but primarily we are a Medicare focused agency. And when we've done these joint training sessions, we're often asked the question, "Boy, Scott, how'd you do it? How'd you get 25,000 clients?" I mean, we hear that all the time, don't we, Dalton?
Yeah, we do. It's regularly, how do you do that with just 8 agents, and what are the pitfalls that come with that? But just talk. Before we get into it, I think just talk a little bit about how we got to 25,000. I think people would want to hear about that.
Well, the one thing I'm particularly proud of is, and not that it's a bad thing, but with that growth, we have never, ever purchased a lead from someone. So our growth has been organic, grassroots type of growth. And I thought a lot about this because I figure people were going to ask that question. I think there's 3 reasons why we were able to grow the agency to that level with 8 producers. First is, and this, forgive me, Dalton, this is a bit of a cliche or a platitude, but it's true, and it's a result of hiring great people. And we don't have a lot of turnover. We have very little turnover. Some of our people that I'm going to introduce to you have been with us over 20 years. And some of our producers have been with us from the beginning. So we got this place because my previous life, I was a group insurance agent, broker, and I found myself gravitating towards the owners would ask me, "Hey, I'm going to retire. What do I do next?" And I really enjoyed the process of helping those folks. So I think first is a love for the business and a love to help people. And we have great people. So that's the first fundamental. And we try to provide an environment, we do provide an environment where people can be successful. whether they're a producer, whether on our client service team, our culture is one that we spend a lot of time together. We have lunches together. We have retreats together. We do special things because, you know, it's hard work, right? We're working with a lot of seniors with a lot of, Debbie just said yes. So you preempted me, Debbie, there. But the second thing that I think leads to this type of success is you have to have a 12-month sales strategy.
Yes.
And we see a lot of people out there, and we talk to a lot of agents that maybe have a really good AEP strategy. We have a 12-month, and I call it new strategy, new business, new strategy. We had one producer last month for July 1st effective date that wrote 41 new individuals, either on a supplement or an advantage plan. Another one of our producers in the month of June wrote 40 people, new people. So 12-month strategy, very important. We lean a lot on referrals, education sessions, marketing, whether it be Facebook or otherwise. We work with a lot of employers, financial planners. So it's a 12-month new business strategy. But third, and arguably the most important, is having a rock star retention strategy. It is probably the most important thing that has allowed us to grow. We've kept the people that we write. They refer people to us, but having a retention strategy trumps probably even an excellent sales strategy. And so with that, I'd like to introduce our team that is in charge of retention. Ashley, Pat, and Debbie. And these folks are invaluable to our business. Debbie, I think, is celebrating her 27th year with me in February. I think it's February 15th, if I'm not mistaken, Debbie.
It is. It is.
It'll be her 27th year with a Miller in her work family. She ironically, before I met her, she worked for my dad. So she's had a lot of Millers in her life. And some days I feel
third generation. Pat
Survivor.
Go ahead, Dalton.
She's a survivor.
She is a survivor. Pat is the son of one of our lead producers and probably one of the largest Medicare producers in the state of Ohio. So he has a lot of experience. It's in his DNA. And Ashley, coming up in October 24th, if I'm not mistaken, will have been with us for 20 years. So again, great people, great staff, hard workers. But introduce Pat, Ashley, Debbie, are you all on board here? Say hello.
Hello.
Yeah, well.
Well, let's move it on, Dalton. So when we start planning for AEP, we do so in May or June. OEP was especially busy this year for us. So we start planning in a very detailed manner in the month of May and June. We first start by breaking our clients into 5 buckets. And you can see these buckets here. The first one, and probably the most obvious one, is prescription drug plans. And I penned a letter last year when things came out as non-commissionable. And I penned a letter and I said, hey, we're going to continue to service our prescription drug plans. They're going to have to do it in an efficient way, and they're going to have to do it our way. But we're proud that we made recommendations to over 4,000 folks last year on their prescription drug plans. We did it primarily over email. Primarily, if we had to have a phone conference, it would be 15 minutes, but we did it very efficiently. The next bucket is Medicare Advantage customers. Separate bucket, separate strategy. Medicare supplements, you see that's got an asterisk on it because, like you, many of our customers say, oh, it's open enrollment, I can get a new supplement. And they call during that time. But what's that?
Isn't that frustrating?
Yeah. So we have a separate strategy. We'll shop their supplements. I don't want to say reluctantly, but we'll do it. but we try to get our customers to shop their supplements in April and May and June. We have a big campaign that pushes the shopping to that time of year. However, do people ask? Absolutely. The next bucket is when we have high numbers of membership in one particular plan. We separate those out. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And then the last bucket is the known plan disruptions, whether that's network or an area reduction or a plan elimination. Last year, for example, we had a plan that was going to go away, and they gave us about a 45-day notice. We were able to have a separate strategy. There was 187 people in this particular plan. We assigned it to one of our team members. That team member was able to transition that 187. We got 181 people to transition. We couldn't get a hold of 6. But along the way, we got about 10 or 15 referrals from the people we were talking to. So that's how we separate our business into strategies. And guess what we do next? Guess what we do next, Dalton?
I know.
We send the RetireFlo link, and I would tell you it's early and often.
How many times, Dad? How many times do we send it before AEP?
11 times.
11? How many times does it? Say it again.
11 times.
How many times? How many times?
And again, maybe this isn't strategy. Maybe you'll have a slightly different strategy, but we're telling you what we do, and we send it out.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Look, we serve 25,000 beneficiaries. Okay, it's a lot of people. We're making a recommendation, just sharing with you what we do. We're going to go through. This is when we talk about our AEP game plan. This is it. This is the meat and potatoes of it. These 4 items here, and we're going to go into clear detail. My goal to share this with all of you is not for you to take this and treat it like I must do every single thing that these folks do. It may not even make sense for your agency. If you're an agency with 500 clients, 200 clients, 100 clients, take these things, learn from them, and translate it to your own business. Now, what we're trying to say by the fact that we're sending it out 11 times is we're going to send it out a lot of times. Okay, for us it's 11. For you it might be 9. For you it might be 12. You got to take an active approach in this as an agent and look at what we're doing and replicate it in a way that makes sense for you.
And one comment on that is,
I'm going to jump in real quick.
oh, sure.
Yeah. What's up, Amanda?
I'm going to ask you a few questions just so that way we can delve a little bit deeper into this, if you don't mind. So you send this out 11 times. And initially, the agents are going, oh, God, that's a lot.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about, are you changing up where it's not just the same email 11 times and it's got some different subject titles? How are you doing this? Are you using constant contact? Are you using your own individual email? What actually are you doing specifically when you're doing that, and where's the frequency differentiator? So, for example, on constant
paid
contact,
actor, I swear.
That was a great setup, Amanda. We are on the same page.
You think we've done this once or twice, right? When you use constant contact, it has that where you can do the open and then 7 days you can do a second one. So are you doing 11 sets of 2 or are you doing 11 cumulative?
So first off, great questions and great mechanics behind the scenes, and we're about to dive into that. And Patrick on our team, he supervises these sends. But the one thing I would say, just to start this conversation, is the first time we did it. So many of you out there may be like, I've never done this before. The first time we did it, we sent a primer note to everybody, and if you might even send a primer snail mail letter to everybody and say, this is how we're going to do it. So the first time we did it back in 2020, Two, when Dalton created this for our agency, we sent a primer note that said, folks, this is how we're going to do it. I hear the music in the background. This is how we do it. But
Great singing,
that's how
Scott. There we go. I like it.
Yeah. And Dalton says I'm not allowed to sing or do impersonation. So I violated one of his rules, but this is how we do it. So we're going to show you, and then I'm going to let Pat talk, but we're going to show you a sample of what one of those might look like. This is an email, and you can see Miles and Dalton. It's hyperlinked, like Miles talked about. But if you can't read it, I'll read a little bit. If you would like to have your Medicare plan reviewed by Seniority for the upcoming year, please click the button below. And boom, that goes right to their RetireFlo survey. We put some important times and dates on the bottom of it. We also encourage people, we've set arbitrary deadlines, like we want to get these all in by October 31st, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But Pat, will you share with the group here, what tools that you use, how often we do it, and we'll go from there.
Well, actually, do you mind if I added a slide here at about 1:30 a.m. last night?
I saw that, Tom.
And I'm gonna put it up right now. This is a real example of what we send out. I want you to take a look at this, just visually. You can, if you have bad vision like I do, take your glasses off. We did not write a Shakespearean, Mark Twain, Homer's Iliad and the Odyssey letter, monster email. This is about 4 sentences, okay? So everybody's gonna ask for templates, and we recognize that. We're going to give this template to you in the resources section on RetireFlo. We're going to suggest that everybody even share their templates, what they use. Everybody's got a little bit of a different thing. What we know works is simple. This is 4 sentences. Shakespeare didn't write it. We didn't plug it into ChatGPT. You're a Medicare agent. You know this stuff in your heart. This is what you do every day. So if you look at this clearly, it says 4 things. Hey, do you want a plan review? Button, click here. Here's what's going to happen after. Here's when we need it by. That's it. And we serve 25,000 clients. So if you're like, well, Dalton, you don't know my clients. That's not true. We serve 25,000 rural Ohioans here at my home agency, Seniority. What I hear from agents a lot of times is, well, I sent it out one time last year and I didn't really get that many completions on it. I don't know. I don't even know if it works. That ain't true. RetireFlo works, and it works damn well. What often happens is when I ask to that person, to that agent, what did you send out? They send back a monster 45-page explanation of all of these things that are changing in Medicare. And by the way, there's a time and a place for that. And then they bury the link way down here at the bottom, all the way down here at the very bottom, and you can't even click on it. Okay, look at this visually. It's very clear to Susie Senior what her next action is, what she needs to do, what Seniority expects of her. So again, we're going to give you this template. Everybody take a deep breath. This is what I was talking about with chill. We're gonna be fine. But the clear, it's about being clear and about being straightforward.
Back to what Amanda said is,
sorry.
That's why if you haven't done this before, like we did, we sent a little primer note out. We said, hey, this is what we're about to do. And Dalton and I hear it all the time. Oh, I sent it out. It didn't work. My people don't do it. Trust me, we wouldn't be diving into this if it didn't work. It works, and it gets better every year.
It does. It keeps going up. The completion rate every year, because our clients are comfortable with this process.
So one of the things that looking at this, and I know some of you want them to scroll down to see the rest of the
it's just the same as
the
disclaimer.
action.
Yeah.
But if you look at that subject line, Medicare plan review info due by October 31st, and it doesn't matter what date you guys use, whether that's October 1, whether it's September 15th, whatever the date is, the fact that you have an actionable subject line and that you set up your client to expect those emails, that's the paramount thing, is that when you're working with your client, you say, hey, come this spring or come this summer, you're going to be look for these emails that are coming. This is what we need to go ahead and do. This is where you need to go to make that happen, so that they know to anticipate for it. It makes sense. And then as you get that adoption, I saw somebody say that as they submit them in, they pull them off the list so that they're not getting the request for more information as that comes through.
Amanda,
To
hold on now. Hold on. You got to give us the chance
Sorry.
here. Tell us what's coming next. Okay.
Well, I was going to say, I'm looking at these chats and like you've got ridiculous amount of different stuff and like side conversations going that are like trumping what you're doing, which I want to jump in and go, guys, stop and listen. You'll get more out of this if you actually pay attention.
We agree. Thank you. And that's true. Pat, Dad, talk a little bit about this.
Yeah. So, I mean, as Dalton has said, as Scott has said, we started out this process, or at least a variation of this process, about 4 years ago in terms of sending out some sort of survey to collect our clients' information ahead of AEP. And now this year with the Superlink, it's our first year using it too. We're anticipating it being our most efficient AEP to date. It kind of marries the best of both worlds and being able to send it out in mass and also have the information automatically put into our quoting tool to where we're not having to manually enter in each client's prescriptions. And so we do our best to collect each of our clients' email addresses when they first enroll with us, and we periodically communicate with them throughout the year so they become familiar with this mode of communication. And we treat it almost like, we'll say, like a dialogue throughout the year, just so that they do understand our processes each AEP. And so starting in August 5th on one Wednesday, we start sending this out to each and every one of our clients. And the goal is to collect as much of your client's information ahead of AEP as you possibly can. And so we're in our 4th year of this, so our clients are trained pretty well at this point, where they've come to expect this outreach close to the same time each and every year. I mean, in years past, when we didn't have the Superlink at our disposal, it was even earlier because we had to make sure that we had time to put in all of our clients' information to be ready for October 1st. And so even with this new Superlink, we're still sending it out 11 times because we found that it's definitely not rocket science, but repeat scheduled sending yields the best results. And so we alternate 10 a.m., 1 p.m. to try to at least give, sometimes people open their emails up before they, when they wake up or when they're, between certain stages of the day, and then 1 p.m., maybe after lunch, they check it just to try to get as many people as we possibly can to complete this. And that's kind of the bottom line, is that is the goal here, is you want people to complete this, especially ahead of the annual election period, so you have everything in front of you. And so, as people have asked, we do take care as to not send this out to those who have already completed it. And so that is a manual process of making sure that we reconcile people who have completed it versus those who have not yet. And so it is very much a main concern of ours not to inundate these people with this link and confuse them, because that is like I say, the client needs to be understanding of what the process is. And if you're repeatedly sending this email out to them after they've already completed it, it's going to muddle up a lot of things. You're going to be spending more time explaining your process than you are actually helping this person through their plan review.
100%.
And so we'll get into what happens next after the client does complete the survey in a bit, but the Superlink is the best of both worlds, as I've said. And so the amount of time that we're saving from the manual entries being taken away is genuinely unquantifiable. I mean, Miles has spoken about this before, but when he was still at the University of Dayton, pre-RetireFlo, his job at Seniority was genuinely entering in prescriptions. That was his entire job.
That was what Miles did.
Call him a drug mule.
Yeah, that was.
Hold on,
it.
we gotta talk about that. So before Miles joined RetireFlo and joined Seniority, his job was to get drug lists and manually enter them into Connecture. Okay, that was his job. We literally called him the drug mule. That was his job. Now we could do that because he's my brother and I can do that. It's not an HR violation. But that was what his job was. And so folks, I want everybody to just take a look at what this screen looks like. We're sending this out in August, September, and October, 11 times. In August, we're sending it on Tuesdays. September, we're sending it on Thursdays. In October, we're also sending it on Thursdays, alternating from 10 to 1, what time, just to hopefully to capture some folks who might be checking their emails at different times. We peel them off when they're finished, and we keep on rocking. I shut down the chat just for a moment because everybody needs to cool off in there and look at this, because this is the game plan. This is what we suggest. And you're going to go, and I'll even ask this of Dad, August 5th. What do you mean? I don't want to start that early. What are you talking about? Like, I don't want to, my people aren't even engaged. They're in the summer months. They're not paying attention. What are your thoughts? What's your response to that?
Well, I think it's more important now than ever to send it out in August, early August, because one of our stories behind the story here is we're going to do our best to, starting on October 1st, our prescription drug folks that have submitted a review, we're going to try to get as many of those recommendations completed between the 1st and the 15th, so that we can, check that off our list. Hey, 2,000 people got their recommendations, because we're living in a different world than we did 3 years ago with all the non-commissionable plans. So it's really important to communicate early and often. Take the people that didn't get the already completed the survey, take them off the list. Use a mail service, whether it's
Constant Contact, MailChimp,
Campaign Monitor.
Maybe you send emails out through your CRM, whatever. It is a war of attrition. It is about getting in front of your clients with whatever tools that you're comfortable with. So we're going to even show you what our emails look like here in just a moment, for some of our other events that we do. But this is how many times that we're sending it out. This is our recommendation to you.
And a little shout out to George Beach put his email out on Medicare Island. I really appreciate him doing that. He's put himself out there, showing people what he does. We appreciate that. But Dalton's right. There's no magic bullet. We try to be as plain and simple of speak as we can. So let's take it to the next step, Dalton.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I'm just gonna pause everybody and remind everybody of rule number 1. We got to take a deep breath, because there's people blowing up the chat. Okay, we're watching it, so don't be doing anything crazy in there. We're going to talk now about the process of what happens after we send it out 11 times. Okay, so we send it out 11 times. The number one part of our game plan is get RetireFlo out. Okay, I'll say it for the 85th time. We're sending it 11 times. Now, let's talk a little bit about what happens after someone completes the RetireFlo. We've got 7 actions that are taken. Now, I'm going to say something before we explain this, because I think this is really, really important. I work with a lot of insurance agents across this country, many of which are people who are younger, who have built CRMs, who wanted to be involved in what their workflows look like. And all these folks are dreaming about automations. What you're seeing here is workflows. These are not automations, okay? And what I mean by that is these things do not happen automatically. Okay, maybe you're like, wow, wouldn't it be awesome? Wouldn't it be great if it just went and it wrote the business for me and I just sent out the links and that was that? No, that is intentional. It's not because we don't want to develop these things for RetireFlo and we want to do them for you. We could. In fact, we could automate all of these processes, but we don't do it because we want to take an active approach in where our clients are in this process, we literally almost physically, I'm being hyperbolic, we don't do that, but we physically drag people through this process. And it feels like a drag sometimes. It's from August until November 1st. We drag people through this process one step at a time. We take Susie Senior and we drag and drop her into the next section. And so we do that so that way we can be 100% locked in on where our clients are. And if you over automate, you lose your business personality. And secondly, you'll end up communicating with clients in ways that you don't mean, especially as you grow and scale. So Dad, I think Ashley and you are going to talk a little bit about what exactly our workflows are.
Yeah, and before we start that, we send that out 11 times. Our percentage of results there has gone up every year. We're trending between 60 and 70% return on our sends. Now, again, this will be our 5th year of doing it. This has been our 5th year of doing it. So that has grown each and every year. But the consistency is what matters. Once they are completed, Ashley, what happens next?
So, real quick, I'm going to pivot here for a second, just because I've seen this question come up several times in the chat about our communication. Are we only communicating or sending these RetireFlo links and requests for surveys out via email? And we are only sending that information electronically. Later on one of the future slides, we'll talk about how we help folks who maybe don't have email or are challenged technologically. But yes, everything up to this point, all done electronically. So like Dalton said, we have set up our own workflows, and you could do this any multitude of ways, depending on what CRM you use and its capabilities. Or even if you just set it up, I mean, you could do it in an Excel spreadsheet with columns. But we do move people. So when the RetireFlo submission comes back in, we take the time to move them into our next workflow that indicates they completed that RetireFlo survey. So we've received that information back, and that is an indicator to us that they want a review of their plan and a plan recommendation. So when that happens, we send them, when we move them from column 1 to column 2, RetireFlo link completed, we send them out an email acknowledging that we received their information and letting them know what to expect next, as far as they will receive a recommendation from us. It will be sent via email, and kind of the time frame there of when to expect and to watch for that from us.
So code word, we're always setting expectations of what's next.
Yeah.
Yes. Once we internally have reviewed that plan and determined, that yes, you do need to change maybe to a different Medicare Advantage plan, we send out that quote, a plan comparison, with a little in the text box, a little couple sentences of why we're recommending this plan. It could be something as simple as, hey, your atenolol isn't on the formulary next year, or your primary care doctor is out of network on your current plan. So henceforth, we're recommending a change. But we send that quote out to them. We here internally use Connecture for our quoting and plan comparisons. So we send it out via Connecture, but we also, again, when we move them into our next little column of our workflow process, we send them an email that says the same thing to everyone, essentially saying, hey, I've sent you a plan recommendation. You're going to have received 2 emails from this email address. Check your spam folder if you don't see it right away. This is how you're going to access it. So we let them know this is what you are looking for, and this is how you're going to look at the plan that we have made, recommendation we have made. And then we give them further instruction as to, if you want to enroll in this plan, great. Click the add to cart button and follow those prompts. Or if you've got questions, reply back to me at this email with your questions and I can answer those. Or in some cases, if it's necessary, we'll then schedule a time for a phone call to answer those questions and discuss the plan in further detail. If they haven't responded, if I haven't heard from them, so maybe I sent the quote to them last Monday and it's Wednesday of the next week, and I go and say, oh, Scott Miller's still sitting out there and the quote sent. He hasn't asked any questions. He hasn't completed the enrollment.
Sounds like me. That sounds like me.
It does. Sometimes I have to prod him to take action. I will then move them into another column that has me send a reminder email out. That's just kind of like, hey, I sent this to you, haven't heard from you. If you don't recall seeing it, go look for these 2 emails, or let me know and I'll resend it. And that usually will get some form of response of either, oh yeah, I saw it and I don't want to make the change, I'm good. Or no, I totally missed it. Can you resend it? But maybe I gave you a bad email address, whatever the case may be. Ideally, the next step that folks would go to is they say, yeah, I want to enroll in insurance company plan A for next year. And I'll send them, again, we use Connecture, the application via Connecture, and move them into the column so that I know, hey, this app is out there and I'm waiting to get it back. It also then triggers me to have an email sent to them that says, again, I've sent you the application. It's going to come from this email address. This is how you access it. This is how you'll want to go through step by step to hit the submit button. So that way they know what to expect, what they're looking for, and how to submit their enrollment, their application. Again,
How many people, what's the percentage of people that actually follow that without a follow-up phone call or email?
I'm going to say it's probably higher than you expect. As far as prescription drug clients, I maybe helped 5 to 10% last year in some way as far as in doing the actual enrollment. And a lot of times that was because I was helping a spouse who maybe had a Medicare Advantage plan, and so it was done at one time. As far as even Medicare Advantage plans, you think, oh, my client's not going to know to put their PCP in there. They do. I am shocked by the number of people who add their primary care physician and add the PCP ID, even when it isn't required because maybe it's a PPO plan. So they are very good at following the instructions and going from step A to step B. I think a lot of it is we set them up to succeed. And as far as we're telling them what to expect and how this process is going to go.
And Ashley, I'm not sounding disparaging to seniors, but we are training our customers to be part of the solution, right?
Yes. Yes. And for that matter, like we've said before, year 1, when we did this, I mean, I probably still did 75 to 80% at least of all enrollment. I had some hand in touching them. Going into, what did we say? This is year 4. I mean, it's drastically, year 5, it's drastically dropped. So this isn't going to be first year, you're handling minimal enrollments. You're going to have to help them through it. But year over year, people will email back and say, hey, this looks just like last year. Is it the same how I add it to cart? And I say, yep, if you have any trouble, let me know. And they go through the process lickety split without issue.
Thank you.
I have a 96-year-old client who was offended when I offered to do help her do the enrollment, because she said, this is so easy. I can do this. And she did it and sent me an email and said, see, I'm done. So don't always underestimate maybe the client.
Correct.
So then 6, same thing. We've got a reminder email. Again, if I've sent you the application and you haven't submitted it, I have an email that I send out to you and move you to that column so that I know, hey, I'm waiting on this. They haven't taken action. I haven't heard from them. And then the end is either you go to a column where I've said, no changes needed. Your plan is great for next year. You don't need to do anything. And that kind of case is closed. Or they've finally submitted the application. And I know that everyone and those two end columns are handled and kind of off my plate. And I can focus on the people out there that I've sent reminders to.
Yeah, thank you. And as Dalton said, your process could be slightly different for your book of business, but I think it's all relative in the fact that establishing these processes has helped eliminate a lot of stress from our client service team. I'm not going to tell you it's not busy. It's busy.
Let me just interrupt. Just the chat is blowing up. We can't answer these questions fast enough. One of the questions is how do you manage this? Do you manage this on an Excel spreadsheet through a CRM? How do we get people through these 7 steps? And what we're saying again is we do this manually at our home agency through our CRM, but do whatever works best for you. If you like an Excel spreadsheet for this process, rock and roll with it. It doesn't just, the goal should be to meet people where they're at. You should be able to go home from work that day and know how many people you got to move through from step 1 to step 7. We're just taking an active approach and understanding that. So there's a million different tools that you can use to do that. I'm not going to sit here and recommend any, but just use the tools that you already have. And if you got to use an Excel spreadsheet to just track where people are, no big deal. No big deal.
But this is a good look into how we go through it. It gets pretty granular here. It's sausage being made. But with time in mind here, I want to get through a couple of the other things that we do during AEP. One of those, for our large blocks of membership at one plan, we host virtual member meetings. We ask the carrier rep to be co-pilot with us in those virtual meetings. And I'm going to show you an example of what our invitation looks like. You'll notice it's small print. I apologize, but we cannot advertise these until October 1st because it's talking about benefits for the following year. So we send this invitation out. We offer 3 different meetings for this particular plan. Last year, we have one plan that has a lot of membership in Central Ohio. We had over 1,000 people attend these virtual meetings with the carrier rep. It's a great way of talking to a large audience that, knock on wood, I'm knocking on wood. This particular plan that we're showing here hadn't had a lot of changes. It's been pretty stable. So it gives us an opportunity to say, hey, listen, you made a good choice the first time around. There's probably not a really big need for you to shop and change plans. We do give them that opportunity at the end of the session, but our experience shows that we've the people that attend these typically stay in place, but we give them a lot of good information. Lastly, we host what we call MAPD curious meetings prior to open enrollment. So we do these in September, sometimes even in late August, where we will host a meeting where we talk about, we target that are on supplements that have questions about, should I go to an MAPD? My neighbor's got a Medicare Advantage plan and they're not paying anything. I just got a big increase from my supplement. I want to hear about Medicare Advantage. We purposely host these in the late summer and early fall before AEP, because having that conversation on November 20th takes a lot of time. So we host these sessions. This year, we're going to record these sessions. So when someone asks about it in the middle of AEP, we're able to send it out to them. And it gives them a little baseline of what's the difference between a supplement and an advantage plan. So that is our strategy overall. There's a lot more sausage in it behind the scenes, but that gives you a baseline of what we do And I think the carrier reps that work with us on this call would tell you that we have some of the best retention rates in the industry.
No, we certainly do. Folks, our game plan is 4 steps. Okay, we boiled this down to 4 points. The most important one, in my opinion, is the first one. You can't do any of these things if you don't have fresh and healthy data on your clients. So get RetireFlo out. Okay, get RetireFlo out. Use this time in late July, early August to game plan what you're going to do when those folks start coming back, and start receiving submissions, host virtual member meetings, and then, we host MAPD Curious meetings because we want to let a little steam out of the kettle. We've got these supplement clients who want to call us in the middle of November and ask us questions. That's difficult. Now, I would tell you, and we're running a little bit behind, so I want to thank Josh Smith and Amanda Bruton for taking a second. But it's not AEP without some pitfalls, or what we call whirlpools. And I want to apologize to Pat, Ashley, and Debbie for swirling you down this hole here, but it's the reality.
It's true. It's true.
So Debbie's there. You guys are going down the whirlpool, but we've boiled these down to really 4 major whirlpools that we believe, based on all of my meetings, that you likely deal with too. And I want to go through these things. Dad, talk to me about that first one. Husbands and wives who share emails. Maybe you're not the right person to talk about it, but how do we handle that? Because we know that agents or beneficiaries across this country share emails. I don't know why. They just do. It's sweet. What sweet seniors do together. They share an email. What's your suggestion on how we tackle that?
I would first tackle the RetireFlo upgrade that you did almost a year and a half ago.
Let me share with you real quick, ladies and gentlemen. On the RetireFlo side of this, we had a I don't want to call it a bug. It wasn't really a bug. We had a little bug. I don't have a better word for it, regarding husbands and wives who share an email. That has been completely resolved on our system. So if Bob Senior completes the survey first, Susie Senior cannot complete the same survey and overwrite any data. But what are some measures, which is great. We've resolved that. It's long, long gone. But talk to me about some systems that you guys have in place. What do you do in the front end to ensure that? How do you manage that?
Pat would be a good person to answer that. You're on mute, Pat, right now.
Yeah, I mean, in the outreach that we do to our clients initially, we do make a note that says if you share an email, you do have to complete 2 separate surveys. And for the most part, that accomplishes what we need to do, where people aren't necessarily overwriting with "not I can't," which is obviously the worst case scenario, which cannot happen any longer. But for those, very occasionally you'll run into a husband and wife that may not understand fully what they're completing, and they may put all of their prescriptions among the 2 of them in one survey. And that's, I would say, very, very infrequent where that's taking place, maybe a handful of times over the 1,000 or so, over 1,000 people that we are going to end up working with. But you just have to be adaptable. You just have to kind of recognize it and reach back out to them and say, hey, we need you to just recomplete this survey. But on the front end, if you can make a note and say, hey, if you do share an email address, just make sure to have this completed 2 separate times or 3 separate times, however many people are in this household or share this email. That's going to be the best way to accomplish it.
Yeah, and I think being transparent and setting those expectations is important. The second one, the good room, bad room, this gets back to, we get it. Nothing is absolutely perfect. And you are going to get people that says, I don't do technology, or I don't have Wi-Fi or whatever. And by the way, they're sending this back to you on an email. So you're like, you probably do have these capabilities, or their smartphone. They're on their smartphone. So we've kind of designated, I don't know, I feel like Debbie created this name, good room and bad room.
It was not me. It was not me.
I'm going to blame it on her.
Yeah. Yeah, and we actually measured whose clients went into the bad room and good room, and
Well, explain what is the good room? What is the
good
bad
room is
room?
people that follow instructions, complete the survey, understand technology, and do it. I don't want to say the right way, but do it the most efficient way.
Okay, and then who is the bad room?
The bad room is the people that don't have email. And even there's good people to get in the bad room. Maybe you're 95 years old and you're in a skilled nursing facility. We don't want to call them bad people, but they may end up in the bad room where we would send a paper request out to them. But we tell them in advance, look, folks, if you happen to get in the bad room, they don't know it, but if they're in the bad room, it's going to take a little longer for us to get back to them.
Yeah, because we got to wait
that,
on the slowest U.S. Postal Service in America.
yeah, and it's very, I mean, it's take to enter the drugs, look up all the doctors. It's a little more time consuming when you have to manually do it. And yes, I have the most on the bad room. Yes.
You say that's because you're the nicest, but I don't know if that's the case. But
no, it's because I'm a sucker. That's it. I fall for it.
Lane, I like that. Okay, so we work hard to keep. Yeah, hold on, I'm going to go ahead for a second. We work really, really hard to get people to do this electronically. That is our preferred method. We make it very clear that it is our preferred method. If you want us to mail you something, we're going to let you know that it's going to take a little bit longer to get your review back. I don't know how many of you have watched Seinfeld in your life, but when we all know what happened to George Costanza's wife from licking envelopes, okay? There are people who will ask you to do this. It's really kind of unavoidable, but just know this going in advance and try to drive as many people into the good room as before you start licking stamps and mailing some of that. That's also an expensive process too. Stamps are not cheap. So, especially in bulk. So, that's RetireFlo in a lot of cases has put that old system to bed, but keep that in mind in the back of your head that you might have a client who you've forgotten about, or maybe he's not top of mind, who you might have to mail something to.
The next bullet point here, the COVID brought us one good thing. Not very many good things, but one good thing is that we couldn't do in-person meetings in 2020 and 2021, basically. And we took that opportunity to say, look, we became more efficient. We added RetireFlo, but we don't do in-person meetings for our current book of business, for prescription drug plans, for Medicare Advantage plans. We don't do it. We don't do those meetings. And Dalton pointed out something. He's like, hey, Dad, if we meet with them at renewal, do we get more commission?
Let's take a second. Okay, because I meet with a lot of agents who are very proud of their systems, okay, and proud of the way that they do things. And they say to me, well, Dalton, you don't understand because you have an agency where you serve a lot of people and I meet with everybody one-on-one and I'm a better person than you are. I mean, that's kind of, they're not saying that, but that's what they're saying. Okay, that they're moral high grounds. And I'm going to ask you this question, ladies and gentlemen. If you do an electronic enrollment or an enrollment over the phone or an enrollment over Teams or a 10-minute meeting and that's efficient and prepared, or you listen to your people spell their drugs one letter at a time and you go through when maybe they bring their pills into the office. On those two different applications, which one gets paid more commission? They both pay the same, okay? And both clients walk away feeling well served. One client had to spell all their prescriptions out one at a time. And that meeting took an hour. Our meetings take 15 minutes. Okay?
And I would also say, Dalton, we start sharing this with our customers as they become new customers. We tell them, we preset the table and say, hey, look, next year at AEP, here's our process. And so that they don't come in with unrealistic expectations, because we all do a nice job of, I call it loving them up front, but we got to set the expectation, and we do. And we say, here, this is what's going to look like next year. And then there's less heat on that. Now, when we first started doing this, it was COVID. I mean, prior to that, it was come one, come all, and it was about to kill us then.
Yeah.
So, that would be my advice, would be to have ground rules. And is
By
that
the
to
way,
say
and
that,
Dad, just to clarify on these things, on many of these husbands and wives who share an email, good room, bad room, in-person meetings, physical office, we keep notes of our clients in our CRM. So that way, when we roll into this AEP next year and the year after, we knew, oh, this person had a hard time completing the survey. This person demanded an in-person meeting. This person, whatever it may be, we keep track of that. So that way, when we bump into people next year, we know these things. And it's actually, even though it seems remedial, like we're keeping a burn book on our clients, it just helps us be more efficient and be
I
prepared.
also want to say, Dalton, if there is a special circumstance, my heart is big here. We're going to help people out.
Yes.
If they're in a predicament, my goodness, that's why we're in the business, and we're going to do everything possible to make somebody happy. If they're we've gone, I mean, we've done it all, and sometimes someone's going to slip through and have a meeting, and that's okay. It's not perfect, but doggone it, that's what we try to do. We try to be efficient. We try to help as many people.
Right. Now we got it, because we're way beyond time here, because I want to make sure Amanda's got enough time talk. But let's talk. Just talk to me quickly about the Thanksgiving surprise. What is that?
All of our messaging is get these completed by October 31st, or we're not sure we can get you a recommendation. But sure as the Ohio State Michigan game is about to kick off, someone will call, and that's usually right around Thanksgiving. Someone will say, "I haven't heard from you. I can't believe you guys haven't reached out to me."
How dare you? How dare you? Are you going to help me? You haven't said anything to me. And remind you, we have sent it out 11
times. And then Pat will look at it and say, they opened it 7 times. But anyways, that will happen. So expect it, but set expectations, set deadlines, because it is very hard to help somebody on December 5th. If they have a complex situation, we encourage people to do it early. We send it out early and often. It's going to happen. It's not perfect. But again, I want to thank you all for tuning in. We have one of the best jobs in the world, and we're lucky to be a part of this industry.
100%. We wanted to highlight some of the things that we felt like you might be dealing with. We deal with them too, in many cases at a greater scale. And we recommend, I think overarching here is obviously we've got a game plan, right, that we recommend. Our suggestion to all of you is to get a game plan. Start thinking about it now. Determine when you're going to send it out 11 times, or how many times you're going to send it out, and stick with it. Because when the rain comes, it's hard, it's tough. The whirlpools hit you, and you're under pressure, and it's a lot of work. Pick a game plan and stick with it. And what you'll find is, if you keep these things in mind on the front end, you're going to have a better AEP, more efficient. Use the time on the front end to collect the data that you need, and then stick with it. Make those policies that feel comfortable for you, but don't give up. We're all in it together on October 24th when the world's burning. But Dad, Ashley, Patrick, Debbie, thank you so much for giving everybody a game plan, especially in this time of a lot of confusion in our industry.